Welcome, everyone. This is a session to help parents with children entering an Issaquah Middle School to give them some tips and resources for you, parents, as your child starts a middle school. My name is Lorna Gilmore, and along with me, we have Ina, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ina Gangurdi. I am one of the 3 family liaisons in the district. I support primarily the Liberty High School feeder pattern, and I'm happy to be here and help you with any questions or address any concerns that you have. I myself am my children have graduated, but they all graduated from the Issaquah School District. So I have experience from being in the school district.
Thank you, Ina. Ina, if you may ask a question in chat, Ina will be able to respond to your questions if she can in brief chat response. Or you can type up your question in chat, and as needed, she can interrupt me and ask me the question, or I can address those questions if we don't address them through the course of the presentation at the end of the session. As I said, this presentation today is mainly for parents new to the US public school system to help them better navigate ISD schools. Schools can be very confusing, not only to parents coming who have had experience with education in another country or another state, or maybe in private education in the US. Honestly, it can be confusing for even parents who went to school 10, 20, 30 years ago because there are quite a few changes. So this presentation is designed to help parents and help them understand, especially the middle schools. It's also to help all parents find some resources on where they can find answers and help them for future questions as they arise. So, based on that, one of the big things we will be focusing on is to kind of teach you and show you how to use the Issaquah School District and the school website. Because very often we get feedback that our website is amazing, that it has so many resources and so much information. However, the problem is very often our families are very overwhelmed by the number of resources and how to navigate the website. And so part of this presentation, we will be showing you where to get this information and who to contact and where to get information on. If you don't even know who to contact, how do you contact them? So how to find that information out. So we'll start with the district website. The district website, the first thing to note is that, don't know why it goes into this site, but the first thing to note about the district website is that it has a translate button. And most of the very dominant languages spoken in our school district are in the Google Translate. Another thing to note is that we have a lovely search feature. And honestly, as I told you before, sometimes finding what you're looking for can be overwhelming. We have some quick link buttons, but type in what you're looking for in the search site to find the information you're looking for. Also, directory. Sometimes you're not sure who to contact. The directory is a great place to go to. Another couple buttons to know is here and About Us, we have a contact. Last year, some of our families told us that when they had an issue at their school, they didn't even know where to begin. If my child is a problem with transportation, who do I call? Just a transportation number? Which transportation number? So we created this who to contact resource for you. So note again, it's under About Us, Contact, and it'll tell you if you have a question on buses, what kind of, if it's a general, if it's routing, what's your bus route, bus stop, dispatch, the bus is late, early, something like that, family access, Skyward. So for different things, if you have a question about your child's schedule, who do you contact, clubs, fees. So this gives you information for each one of the issues, who should I contact to help you answer that question. Okay, so that is a good resource for you. Also, I talked about the fact that we are the Cultural and Family Partnership Department. So what does that mean? What that means is that we have realized using data from Issaquah, the city of Issaquah and the city of Sammamish, that 30 to 33% of our population has students whose families were not born in the United States. They're foreign-born citizens is how the US Census counts them. And with that number of students who are not born in the families, not born in the United States, it makes sense that some of the families might not understand how to navigate schools because they were not born in the US, so they may not have gone to school in US schools. And so to support those families, which according to data is about 30 to 33% of Issaquah and Sammamish families, we do these sites. We do these sessions. Now, as we do these sessions, we post all of the resources that we've done, all the recordings in resources. I just showed you the resources of this. And so you will find recordings from previous years. You are going to be using Canvas starting next week. We'll talk a little bit more about it. But if you're trying to figure out how to use Canvas on your own starting next week, here are some tips on how to use and set up your Canvas account. Also, for those students, families who have heard words like Running Start and WANIC and thinking about future questions on financial aid, here's some information and videos that I've made from previous presentation that you're free to watch. Or I will be doing these sessions again this year that you're welcome to join us for those sessions. Also, we will not be talking much about IEPs, and that is for Individual Education Plan. That's what it stands for. For students who have a special education plan. And so if your child is in special education and you're looking for more information about that, you can find it over here. In addition, at the site, you will see that we have our liaisons information. Ina just introduced herself. As I give you this information, you might not fully understand or it might not quite make sense. Any family in the school is welcome to contact a school liaison, and that liaison will help answer questions that they might have to help them better understand and navigate the system. Or the liaison can say, hey, the best person for you to talk to is a school counselor. Let me email the school counselor and you together to help you connect with that school counselor so they know your question and kind of do that first contact with that person and get you going with that information. Okay? Because some of the information is very specific to be addressed, or the counselor needs to handle it and change it and so forth. Or it might be something that the registrar needs to change in family access. And while we can answer the question, we can make those big changes. So here's the liaison name for those of you who are going to be in Cougar Mountain, Pacific Cascade, and Maywood. Your family liaison is Ina. Liliana is doing the Spanish presentation right now, and she supports Issaquah Middle, but all families in Issaquah Middle. And Wendy supports all families at Beaver Lake and Pine Lake, and her contact information is there. Liaisons have a cell phone because they travel and go to many different schools. They work half a day at different schools, and so they have a cell phone so they can be contacted and messages can be left. One of the other things I love about our district website is also you can visit all of the 26 schools in our district. So if you have a child in Issaquah Middle and then also at Clark, one click you can kind of toggle back and forth between the two schools. So for example, if you go to Issaquah Middle, you can also then go back and try to go to the elementary school that you need. The school's website, great things about them and important things to talk about is if you scroll to the very bottom. If your child is in Issaquah Middle, I would definitely bookmark and save that website so that you can easily get to it, because when your child is sick or they're not coming to school, it's hard to remember what the email address is or the telephone number. So save this website so that you can quickly scroll to the very bottom and it'll give you that information so that you can quickly email the school registrar. Because if your child is absent, it's really important to contact the office and give a reason, and that way your absence may be excused. If not, after 3 unexcused absences, you will be getting letters and emails. And so it's communication between school and family is key. And this is part of state law, and it is to protect our students and to make sure that they are being safe and that there's some kind of oversight, and a conversation between family and school about absences that are impacting a student. So the address, email address, and telephone number are here. So keep that in mind. Another great thing on the very main page of the school's website is also the upcoming events in the school calendar. Anytime my child needs to go, I want to check on some information about my child, and what's going on at the school, I usually go to the upcoming events site. The upcoming events has a quick view so that you can quickly see. For example, Cougar Mountain Middle School, if your child is there, remember there's going to be a optional self-guided tour. So the building's going to be open. You and your child can walk around the school between 9 and 11. On the 28th, there's a web day. The 28th is also a parent guardian meeting for new families. So that one will be more detailed about the Cougar Mountain School and expectations and so forth. This one is more general overview, district-wide transportation, lunch, so forth. But all schools' websites look the same. So this is a great starting point. If you have questions, I also appreciate opening the full calendar because the full calendar can help you see the entire month in advance. So this way, this shows you that curriculum night at Cougar Mountain is from 6 to 8. The picture day, you might want to consider what your child's wearing that day, is on the 15th. The dates of sports events are also going to be posted over here. So this is a good calendar for for families to look at as they're looking for information. So as we talked about the family liaisons are resources that help families navigate the school, and every school has one, the elementary and the high schools, but they're called, the liaisons work in a feeder pattern. So if you have a child in high school and elementary school, chances are it's the same liaison that works in all three. There are some exceptions, but the liaisons are specifically assigned schools via feeder patterns. So they're helping families as they move through the schools. We can also help families as cultural brokers, meaning to help better understand what's going on with the schools, with the grading policies, testing policies, because in different countries and different school systems, they're different. So we help parents kind of connect what's happening here versus what their base of understanding is. And also for families who need an interpreter, we help connect the staff and the parents with interpreters. The liaisons are not interpreters for everyone. We just help teach staff how to use interpreters and make sure the parents know to ask for interpreters and get them comfortable to request interpreters and how to do that in communicating with the different staff members. The district calendar is also posted on the website and it is very helpful for you. Again, this is a site that I always tell people to bookmark. I know ever since my child was born, now I started working in the Issaquah School District. My husband has kept this information very close to him because he loves to plan our holidays. And so he always is checking when our vacation in December starts, when school ends, so he can plan getaways. But I also use this information as I'm planning my children's doctor's appointments, dentist appointments, because especially in middle school, you don't want your child to miss any dates. Missing a day can be very hard because they might miss something important and the teacher is not going to have like recess or any way to reteach that lesson. As a science teacher, I knew that I always told my families, if at all possible, if if you're going to schedule a doctor or dentist appointment, please do not miss my science class. Sometimes we're looking at microorganisms that will die in 1 or 2 days, and I cannot make it up. So your child will miss that lesson completely. You can miss PE, you can miss after school, you can, do it on Wednesday morning, but try. I know things are not avoidable, so do the best you can, but just keep in mind absence is trying to avoid absences is an important thing. You will also see that there is a no school day on October 23rd, on January 26th, and both of those days are teacher work days. So teachers will be working, but there's no school for students. March 15th is a snow makeup day. If school is ever closed due to snow, note that students will be going to school on that date. However, if we have no snow between now and March, great, we'll have a 3-day weekend in March. The last day of school is the 18th. Middle school students keep in mind your students will have a half day. It's only like a 3 hour day on the 17th and a 2 hour day on the 18th. So keep that in mind. Another thing to also keep in mind is the last day of the trimester, which will be sometime in the end of November, first week of December. Watch out for that date because your child will have a half day. It very often takes parents by surprise because their child is going to come home around 10:30. And for those parents who don't want their child unsupervised at home, it's surprising. So just note the last day of the trimester or the week after, there's a teacher grading day. It's in this teacher contract. So there's going to be a half day. So look for any information about the half day at the end of each trimester. Okay. Also, unlike elementary school, for those families familiar with the US elementary school system, very often if your child is absent, there's no work to be made up. In middle school, if your child is absent, missed a test, missed an assignment, they'll just get a 0 until they make it up. So it's important that your child is going to be talking to the teacher to make up any work that they missed, because starting in middle and high school, students have to make up any work that was missed due to any travel, any absences, anything like that. So they need to make sure they're communicating with the teacher. And very often it is expected that the student will communicate with the teacher, not really the parent. So the student, when they come back, might want to say, Miss whomever Gilmore, I was absent yesterday. And teachers will usually say, check what we did on Canvas, because everything is posted on Canvas. So this is the start of helping the student become independent and getting this information. So keep that in mind about assignments and missing dates at school. So we talked about the school website having great information. The school announcements are also that are emailed to you are also posted on the website. Couple things to note is you will be receiving an email from the school. So Beaver Lake, for example, will be sending you, if your child goes to Beaver Lake, an email on Thursday at 4 o'clock. So expect an email every week, Thursday at 4 o'clock from your school. The district will send an email to you every Monday at 4 o'clock. If you are one of those parents who's super busy and don't have time for this, I would recommend that you choose at least one, and that should be a school's email, because very often the school's email on the bottom will have some of the important district email pieces. Try to do both as much as possible, but Thursday, 4 o'clock, please make sure you read the district email, the school email that the school sends every Thursday at 4 o'clock. We were talking about the new student web events. I'm just going to give you a quick preview in case you didn't know about it. But next Monday, most of the schools, except for Maywood and Pacific Cascade, will be doing a new student kind of event. Most of them are in the morning, so check the school website to see what time it's at. And for example, Issaquah Middle, my daughter will be starting sixth grade at Issaquah Middle next year. And I know her event is from 8 to 11 a.m. Parents also have an event at the same time. Uh, Not as long, I think it's only 9 to 10 or 8 to 9 or something like that. But these are both optional activities. But if your child is new to school, if they're looking to make friends, I would strongly encourage you take your child to the school for that. Also, if your child has never visited your middle school because you just moved in the past 3 months, this is a good way for them to get a tour. Students in fifth grade were able to take a tour of their schools in March. And so if your child moved to the area after March, they might not have visited the middle school. Curriculum night, I've posted the dates over there. I would highly recommend that all of you go to your child's curriculum night. Curriculum night, yes, they do talk about what the child is going to be learning in each period. You're pretty much going to follow the child's daily schedule and will only be with the teacher for 10 and 15 minutes. And you're going to hear the teacher talk very quickly as they try to run through everything that they're going to be teaching. But it is also a great opportunity for you to listen to what your teacher is going to be doing or what your teacher's classroom expectations are. What is your policy if your child fails a test? What is your policy if the child fails to forgets to turn in an assignment? Do they accept late work? How much time do they give? What percentage of the grade will they get if they were absent, forgot to turn it in? What if your child doesn't understand a concept? What are some options for them to relearn that concept? Does the teacher have office hours? Does the teacher, have times where the student can meet with her? So there's everything is most teachers' expectations might have slight differences. So it's important to go to that curriculum night to hear what is going on in the class and what is the classroom policy. Many families tell me sometimes I don't even know the rules of engagement for schools in the US because this is not my experience. And that curriculum night is a day for you to get that information. The teachers will create or give you or have a classroom syllabus. And so that syllabus is really important. The first week of school, your child is going to have that document saved somewhere. The teacher will have posted that document somewhere on Canvas. So I would recommend that you look for it. That's one of the look fors. Look for that document. Some teachers go as far as having families sign some paper saying that they have read the class syllabus, that document. So if you're new and unfamiliar with schools, that is an important document that you might want to consider making sure that you have read. So curriculum nights are posted. Also, a quick tip for you. Parking on curriculum night is a pain in the rear. So go early if you can. And if you're late, know that you're going to miss a bit because you can sometimes parking is difficult. Also, curriculum night, it is parents do not ask specific questions regarding their child's progress. So this is just a general overview presentation. Individual questions about your child are not at curriculum night. That is a separate thing. You can send an email about that. We'll talk more about parent-teacher communication in another text, in another slide. Bell schedule. Bell schedule is a new concept for many students who have not been in a school where they had different periods, where at the end of that period, let's say 52 minutes, they all have to walk out of the room and go and find their next class. And so sometimes kids who are, have a hard time the first couple of weeks, don't worry, they all figure it out. And so help your child by helping them be familiar with their bell schedule. So for the bell schedule, for example, it's also all posted on the district website. But let's look at Pine Lake's bell schedule. So for Pine Lake, the bell schedule is students have the doors are open at 7:55, meaning the kids can walk in, and then by 8:10 they need to be in their homeroom class, and then they're there for about 25 minutes, and then they'll go to period 1, 2, 3, and then the student will learn if they have a lunch A or lunch B. The lunch period is determined by what period their fourth period teacher is, again, depending on their fourth period teacher. And then they'll go, to whatever the next class is, periods 5, 6, and then the school day at Pine Lake ends at 2:35. Okay, so that's Pine Lake. But that information is posted on the website. On Wednesday, the school schedule is also here. My recommendation always is to print this out, write it down, do something. For my child, and even sometimes for our students, I used to give it to them in their binder so they had it on a piece of paper so they just know. Some people like me are just obsessed by needing to know when the class ends, begins, and being prepared. Other kids didn't really care. When the teacher said, okay, you're done, they'd be like, oh, thank you, and didn't even know class ended and be happy to walk out of the classroom. So it depends on your child and if they need to know this information. For you, this is also important because if you're going to take your child out for an appointment, you'll know what periods they're missing. And so this would be a good place for you to look and see where they are at different times. So as you can see on this thing, if you did not know, surprise, surprise, but on Wednesday, school starts later. Okay. We have a delayed start on Wednesdays at all middle schools. Elementary schools start at their normal time, just middle and high schools have a delayed start. Pine Lake starts at 10:20. I believe Issaquah Middle, don't quote me, but I think it starts at 10:10. but it's a delayed start. So know that there's going to be a different bus schedule and a different bell schedule on Wednesdays. So students can not be on campus too early. So if you are driving your child to school, note that if you're more than 15 minutes early, you're just going to have to hang out with your child till they can go in because we don't want children to be unsupervised before and after school. It's also really not safe. So just keep that in mind. And tip for parents, if they're driving their child, parking lots are a mess. So if you're driving, be ready to be there early if you're going to be part of the lineup for your child. And if you're picking them up, even people will start lining up quite early. At like Issaquah Middle, for example, they definitely start lining up by 2:30. So just keep that in mind if you're driving your child. As much as possible, encourage your child to take the bus, or if they're walking, walk. But taking your child to school can be quite problematic just because the parking lot is a mess. So yes, Issaquah Middle School also starts at 10:20 on Wednesdays. Um, Grading calendar. So as I said earlier, there are trimesters, and at the end of each trimester, the grading period starts all over again. So let's say the first trimester begins, your child really was kind of not organized, not turning in assignments. Remember, for one, this does not show up as a high school transcript. So it's really about the learning and the process. It's really not going to impact their college or high school anything, unless they are not understanding the concept and are going to be, if you might want to consider moving their math class to a different level because they're not understanding. But grade wise, they always have an opportunity next trimester to improve because it restarts all over again. I would definitely 100% check your child's grades every 6 weeks. For sixth graders, I would do it every week. But for if they are being consistent, make sure you check it at least every 6 weeks. Also, if your child has an elective class that changes, make sure you notice that and you help your child notice that because they'll be going to a different elective class because elective will change. Band, chorus, and orchestra don't change. So that elective class is the same elective class all year, but they might have something like architecture or backyard forestry at IMS or something like that. They're just elective fun classes, and that might change. So the first day of school. Some parents are wondering, how do I get my child ready? Next week, school's going to start. So most of you are probably already buying school supplies. So what school supplies should I buy for my child? So some of you might have already discovered that under the academics tab, there's a thing called school supply, and that lists the school supplies for sixth, seventh, and eighth grade. That tab, our schools are great at being consistent. All of our schools have the same tabs and the items in the same places. So again, you can go to academics. Again, you can go to supply list. And then again, you will be able to find the sixth, seventh, and eighth grade. Okay. So this is available for all schools in our district. The other thing to note is that the supply list for middle school is very simple because one, kids are using the laptops quite a bit, but two, also because it really depends on the teacher. Sometimes you will have bought all these things, but a teacher might say, for my class, I really want you to all have a folder. And so the teacher on the first week of school may tell you one or two extra things that they want your child to have. But in general, unlike elementary school, supply lists for middle and high school are very, very general, mainly math kind of items like a calculator, or protractor, or graph paper, or spiral notebook. But otherwise, it's generic things that all kids would need. The big thing about school, honestly, for me and even for my child, I bought my child, for example, um, a lock, just a dialogue. And I know that my daughter's teacher in fifth grade, they did activities in fifth grade at her school where the kids all learned and practiced how to open a lock. Because if your child is going to use a locker, sometimes that can be challenging for them, and they tend to get really nervous and they don't know how to use their locker. So they're stuck there. No worries, by the way. Teachers and adults are walking around helping kids open the locker many, many times. I spent the first 2, 3 days of school every period outside my classroom, opening anywhere from 10 to 15 lockers. So, not a problem. No teacher will judge, no teacher will be upset. All the teachers know that students are going to be coming late that first week of school, so no stress. But this is something for you to do to help prepare and ease any anxiety your child might have about first week and lockers. If you can, take a tour of the school. Your child is going to be there on Monday. If they're really new, not been there, you might want to accompany them or you pick them up and see if you're allowed to walk around and just so that they're familiar with it. Have a conversation with your child about how to use the locker. My daughter, older daughter, who's now in high school, was joking and saying, Mom, no one ever uses their locker. But at the same time, I had to remind her, sweetie, when you were in sixth grade, you did. So some kids go to their lockers often, some kids not at all. Some kids carry everything with them in their backpack, which can be heavy. And other kids are like, yeah, no, I'm not carrying anything extra that I have to in my backpack. Because remember, they're going to be carrying their backpacks throughout the whole day. And at some schools, there are lots and lots of stairs to go up and down. So what are they going to keep in their backpack? What are they going to keep in their locker? How often are they going to go to their locker? How to organize their locker? Do we need some kind of locker organization items, maybe not. So families will be notified about the laptop distribution day also. And for example, one of the schools, I think it's Maywood, is distributing laptops on Monday. Most of the other schools will be distributing their laptops sometime that first week of school. Make sure, by the way, that you as a parent have signed that form, and we'll talk about it later. And it's on the next slide, so I'm going to hold off talking about that. So going on to the next one. So we're about to start about laptops. So make sure that you have signed and have completed your EVP. I'm sure all of you have, but if you've not, make sure you do, because in the EVP form, there was a question saying you're aware if your child loses the laptop, it's cost $670 and blah, blah, blah. But that form needs to be signed so that your child can be assigned a laptop that first week of school. For you to know is when your child has a laptop, please remind them to keep it charged every single day. Every night your child comes home, make sure they develop a routine where they take that laptop out of their backpack, plug it in, and charge it overnight, and then repack it up. Because that's the number one problem kids are having at school. They're forgetting to charge their laptop and then finding a charging cable in class or where they're going to be seated because they're in a classroom, there's really no extension cords nearby. So it's important that they come to school with their laptops checked, fully charged. Sometimes parents and students are like, no, I don't like the school's laptops. They're so cheap. I wanted my own laptop, my fancy um, uh, Apple laptop, Macs or whatever. I would strongly discourage you from letting your child use your personal laptop. The school laptop has security devices to monitor to keep kids safe, prevent them from using different sites, easier access to all of the school's adopted curriculum and apps that they're using. So please encourage your child to use a district laptop. We have purchased some software for web filtering and monitoring. So really, we encourage parents to do that. The district is unable to install these programs on personal laptops. And if your child is having issues at school because they're using their personal laptop, the IT department at school cannot help you. The teachers cannot help you. And so then that causes delays that day for your child. So we encourage all families to use their laptop also and have it with them fully charged in school and at home because many of the textbooks and learning resources and assignments are all done via their laptop. So the textbooks, it's interesting, but the children will all get hard copy of most of their textbooks, but they're also available online. The students will use a lot of different apps as they are doing some assignments, and then teachers also have the students submit their assignments online. So usually they're going to take a photo or do something and then submit it. My daughter submits all her assignments online and there's a submit button. Some teachers do allow students to submit, especially in the younger grades, in person, but most of the assignments, the expectation is to submit the assignment online. So all of this information is also something that the teacher will talk to you about during curriculum night because some teachers are a little bit different than others. And so keep that in mind. But in general, laptops for students, very important. Please make sure that they don't lose it. They don't lose their charging cable. My daughter never takes a charging cable to school. She always has it fully charged and just takes her laptop and then comes home and recharges. There's an FAQ over here about one-to-one laptops if I didn't answer all of your questions. I believe there's a question about personal laptops, and I think I just answered that, hopefully. Health and health room. So all the middle schools have a health room specialist, which is an assistant. They're not nurses, and they usually also have an actual registered nurse at the school. So if your child has diabetes, asthma, needs an EpiPen, has to take medications at school, is medically fragile anyway, has any kind of medical concern, I would be sure you already filled that out during EVP, but the nurse most likely will check in on with you, but you should check in with them, especially if you have medications that they need to be taking at school or medication that you want the school to have just in case something happens. For example, EpiPens. Kids, families usually leave an extra EpiPen at school. In middle school, sometimes kids are a little bit not fully using their brains. I've had students, I was a middle school teacher for 14 years, and I've had students who would eat something with peanuts, and you'd say, why did you do that? You knew it had peanuts and you're allergic to peanuts. Oh, I just wanted to see what it tasted like. Really? Really? So sometimes in middle school, they don't quite make the best decisions. So have conversations, keep that in mind. Help us help your child be as safe as possible. Now, even though COVID is very real, we no longer have any kind of really strict COVID protocols anymore. But in general, simple things such as if your child has a fever, has diarrhea, vomiting, please keep your child home. We don't want them to spread those germs with other kids. And in middle school, there's so many kids walking around and they're exposed to 30 little bodies each period, pretty much. So if they're doing that, keep them home, call in sick, check Canvas to see what they're missing. So that is still there. So, and just have a conversation with the school nurse or the school that your child is absent because they're ill. You do, if your child is going into seventh grade, many of you I know have sixth graders, but if your child is going to seventh grade, note that there is a requirement that by seventh grade, the child needs that final dose for the Tdap. We talked about attendance. Attendance in for middle school students is compulsory. If your child is having many absences, keep in mind that the school is the first few, you're just going to get some calls, and some of them are just robocalls letting you know when they are absent. But after a certain number, usually it's 3 to 5, you're going to start getting letters home saying that your child has excessive absences. And at a certain point, if it's too many, you're going to be asked to come in for a meeting. And at some point, if it's a lot, that your child and you will have to go to the truancy court to talk about absent work. Now, absences due to religious or cultural celebrations, always excused. If you know you're going on a vacation or you have a family, something happening, and you want to pre-arrange your absence, that's fine too. So make sure you're communicating the absences with schools. One other thing to note, by the way, as a middle school teacher, 14 years, parents would usually tell me, hey, we're going to go to blah, blah vacation, family reunion. We have to go back to India, China, Japan for a week or a month. Can you give me all the assignments my child is going to be missing? And the answer is no. Teachers will not give you all the assignments your child is going to be missing while they're absent. You and your child, however, can go onto Canvas, log in, see what you're missing, turn in the work as possible. And when you come back from your absences, you will be given an extension to turn in assignments a certain number of days late, talk to the teacher, then you'll have to make sure you make up all of the work. But very often parents ask teachers for all of the work that they're going to be missing, and there's no expectation in the teacher contract for teachers to provide all of the work, even if it's excused to the student. You only the day off the absence, like if there's a surgery or emergency, the child is going to be at home for 4 days, and then they'll still give them the day off. But everything is on Canvas so that you can access it. So we keep on talking about Canvas, and you're thinking, what the heck is Canvas? Never heard of this. Well, Canvas is a learning management system. I absolutely love it because teachers use that to post all of their students' assignments. The students open the assignments in it. A couple of years ago, through COVID, I had the opportunity to be a sub in some of the classes because teachers were sick and they needed coverage. And it was amazing because students would come into the classroom right away. They'd sit down, open their laptop, go to the teacher's site. The teachers would have, today we're doing blah, blah, blah. And then the students knew what to expect. So the teachers post the assignments. If there's going to be a presentation or PowerPoint that they're going to be teaching, they post that. They post all of this information on Canvas. So the teachers and the parents, the teachers and the students interact quite a bit via Canvas. The teachers, of course, are teaching, but then they'll be posting those modules of the lessons for that time on Canvas. So students, this is important. Students have their own account, and student accounts are different than parent accounts. Just so you know, when you create your account, you're going to be creating your account probably next Tuesday. I wouldn't do it before school starts, honestly, just to ensure that because Canvas is a different platform than Family Access, and Canvas and Family Access have to talk to each other. And so we have to make sure that all of the data from Family Access goes into Canvas. So give the school a break and create your Canvas account on Tuesday, the first day of school. You can create your password and start seeing what your child has been doing. Teachers will be posting the expectations and such in there. But instructions to help your child with logging in and everything on Family Access, this username is your district email. All of that is here. Now, one of the great things about this page, which you can log in through, by the way, from portals, Canvas, okay? Again, if you're home and next week you're like, oh no, I can't figure out how to use Canvas. Well, easy. Portals, Canvas, come here. Here are instructions for parent login. Here are many tutorials on how to use Canvas. Also on my page, remember, under programs and resources, cultural and family partnership under resources, there are lots of videos on logging in, dashboard, all of these things. There's a video over here. There's a transcript. So there are a lot of resources. In addition to that, we will be having an event on September 20th, or information night like this, where we will walk through Canvas and teach parents how to use Canvas. Now, again, I'm pushing Canvas and you understanding how to use Canvas because it is the primary way that teachers and parents communicate with each other. So if you want to know how your child is doing in class, Canvas. You want to know if your child has turned in an assignment, Canvas. The teacher is sending some kind of note to students in that families in that class. They're going to mail that note via Canvas. So make sure, couple things, make sure that the first email you get from Canvas when you set up your login, it's going to come through something called Instructure. Just FYI, between now and the 20th, if you can, make sure you take that out of junk mail so you can get those emails. But everything like that is via Canvas. So I would try to figure out Canvas. And if you can't figure it out, come and see me and we'll do a presentation just on Canvas on September 20th. And for those people who need more help on Canvas because they're not quite digitally savvy, no worries. We'll have a one-on-one session the week after that. Next one, lunch. So in middle school, I think middle school lunch is so much better than elementary school lunch. When I was a dean working in an elementary school for 2 years, I was surprised students have very little choice with lunch. Not as great for those kids who are a bit more picky. So middle school lunch, there are more options. They even have a microwave in middle schools, couple microwaves actually, so students who like to eat hot meals can heat up their meals. The menu and information about allergens are available on the website. Um, you can check the website to see what kind of lunch meals are going to be available for your child, so that this way they can kind of make a decision as to if they're going to buy lunch or take a home lunch. Buying lunch is $4.25 a lunch, and then if they buy milk, it's 50 cents. Also note that during our COVID years, lunches were free. So lunches are no longer free. They're only free if you qualify for a free lunch. It's a reduced price if you qualify a reduced lunch plan. And make sure during EVP you completed the forms for free and reduced meals. And if you have not done the free and reduced meal application, it's not too late. So you can still apply for the free and reduced meal plan by clicking on this um, application and doing that. Okay, My School apps will allow you to apply for the free and reduced lunch. Now, for one of the other things, if you don't need a free and reduced meal plan, the thing that I also appreciate is putting money in my child's account. When my child started sixth grade, she loved buying lunch because there was more options. And so I would just put money in my school bucks so that she can set up an account and put money in the account so that she has money. Sometimes life is a little bit more challenging and you might forget to pack a lunch or they might forget to pack a lunch. This gives them option in case life is challenging that day, the night before the day off, and you didn't have a chance to make a lunch. So they have that option to buy a lunch. So my kids always take a packed lunch, but I always have, anywhere from $40 to $50 in my account so that in case they have that option. And note that money in your lunch account will stay with you till they use it all up. And if you withdraw from school, you move to another area, then money is fully refunded. This is a public school. We don't keep your money, but it's just kind of there in case your child needs to use it for lunch. So I would recommend keeping some money in there if you can financially. Okay. So next one is transportation. Now, if you've not already done so, please take a moment and go to the website and look for your child's bus route. It is available and you need to use your student's name and birthday to find out, and it gives you great information for it. So let's just do that right now, kind of instead of me talking about it, to show you. So find your bus route, some information for you to read, but here it tells you how to set up. It is basically your child's first name, last name, the period in the middle, and then their full birth date, month, date, year, with no slashes or anything like that. You're going to go to Access eLink, and when you go there, you'll see my daughter's name, her birthday is in here, and then you log in, and then it gives you, if you have multiple children, great. Even though you logged in one child, it's going to give you all your children's schedules. And so you can view your children's schedules and then pay attention to it because Wednesday data is different than Monday, Tuesday, Thursday data. Okay, so that information is different. So when you look at it, so note, this is an important one, route number. Yes, someone is asking me if this video is recorded. Yes, it's recorded. And if you fill out the feedback form, I can email it to you tomorrow. But the route number is provided. When your child is the end of the day, they're going to come out of the school and they're going to see anywhere from 10 to 20 buses. It is a little bit overwhelming. So make sure they know what their route number is. The school can look it up, but it takes a little bit a while, and you have to find a staff member. So just for their peace of mind, help set them up for success by letting them know what their route number is. So once they have the route number, and by the way, it's on a white piece of paper in the front window, it's not the number painted on the bus. Okay, so keep that information. So put the route number there, and then the route number is there. It tells you what time to pick up the bus. I'm also going to give you a tip. The first week of school, sometimes there are brand new bus drivers and they don't get to the bus stop on time. So it's okay. or so just make sure your child arrives at the bus stop about 5 minutes early. Hopefully there are other people there. Good sign. All of you will get on the bus together. Your child is on the bus stop, no one's there, no one's coming, sign that there is a problem. You might want to call dispatch or might have to drive your child to school that day. But also when they come home, they're going to get on that same bus route number and you'll see the drop off location. So find out what the drop off location and pickup location. Most of the time it's just across the street from each other, but we want to make sure it's the same location. What time will they arrive home? The first Wednesday my daughter came home from Issaquah Middle, I was very stressed out because it was late. It's definitely late than what she normally comes because it's a later drop off time. So just keep that in mind so you're not anxious. And you know what's going on, they know what's going on. Okay. So last thing to note that if there is a snow day, the snow day bus route is different. So you're going to have to go to the snow link. So when you go to here, find your bus route, you will notice, I mean, hopefully this year with El Nino and everything, hopefully we don't have snow. But if there is snow, please just check what the snow link information is. You can start looking at this, by the way, in November, just to make sure you know if there is snow, how is your bus route going to be impacted? Because the school will make an announcement you are going to look for if your snow route is different. Buses on snow routes. So if you see a bulletin or message from the school because of snow or some kind of emergency, buses on snow routes, keep that in mind that you need to have looked up snow routes to see if your child's snow route is different than their regular route. In October, you are also going to be receiving an email, sorry, not an email. You will also be receiving an actual document in the US government mail, and it's going to look like this. It's a bulletin, here, your name and address. Look out for this piece of paper. It'll have next year's date on it, of course. But it's important information on school closures. It suggests that you scan in this app so that you are updated of delays and cancellations. I'll also give you another tip on how to make sure you're getting that information texted to you. It has some information on what you should be doing in case of snow routes and emergencies. But this information is available on the website and it has a lot of information in here because it talks about some inclement weather snow routes, some tips on what to do when there are school changes. So please spend some time reading this document when it comes and seeing how it impacts you. This is one of the things that you might want to keep handy on your refrigerator on a handy dandy space in your home. So I talked about the opt-in communication. So right here, if you have your mobile phone, you can do it now. Or when I email it to you, if you sign up, if you complete the feedback form and I email this to you, please sign up for a text-in option. And this way, the school can text you important messages. Honestly, the message I prefer the most is transportation and also that text early in the morning that school is closed, school is delayed, school is whatever. It just helps me so that I know and I'm not waking up and getting dressed and finding out, oh, school's closed today, or there's a snow route or some kind of delay. So this is a great thing to have. So you're getting alerts in case something's going on at school. Sports. Now, this is one of the reasons why many of you are here is to learn more about how your child can participate in sports. So great thing about middle and high school really in public schools in the US and in the Issaquah School District is we have so many sports students can participate in for a very, very reasonable fee. And part of the fact is kids do have to pay something called an ASB card fee and also sport fee. Most of the sport fees are about $50. In sixth grade, most of the sports fees, if it's intramural sports, which means it's non-competitive, is $20. And so we have also different sports each season. There are 4 seasons. In the fall sports right now happening are volleyball, softball, and cross country. Some sports, of course, tryout sports, and kids might get cut but some of them are non-cut, like cross country. Also, for example, they have a co-ed varsity and a JV, which is junior varsity softball team. Usually, the varsity is very competitive, and JV, most of the kids kind of, if they can, they put all of the other kids in JV, so they all have an opportunity to play, unless tons and tons of kids showed up, and then it might be a little bit more kids cut and not invited to play. But to do this, you have to fill out forms and you have to have a sports physical. So I'm going to tell you a secret. I forgot to get my physical done over the summer. Ina's like, Lorna, how did you do that? And yes, I did. So sometime the next week, I have to have my child have a sports physical. It has to be signed by a doctor or accepted healthcare provider. The form is on Final Forms that has to be filled out, and then you have to upload it onto this platform, this portal called Final Forms, and then you need to pay the fee. And if you need help financially, you can ask for support from the ASB bookkeeper, which is the school's bookkeeper. Each school has a person who they call a bookkeeper. So we have a school registrar, a school bookkeeper, and a school main attendance person. So there are three different roles at the middle school where these people do those jobs. Okay, so bookkeeper is anything to do with paying, including your child should have a PE uniform, most likely. Hopefully, if you can buy a child a yearbook, it's helpful. At the end of the year, they'll appreciate that because they all sign each other's yearbooks. PE uniforms, so those ASB cards, so those are the four main fees you hopefully already paid for them. Your student ID, someone is asking for this, is on your family access site. Under profile, it says student ID. It's a 7-digit number. Okay, so sports. I would encourage all of you to just have conversations with their children to see if they're interested in sports, because it's a great way, and if your kid is new, to kind of meet other kids. Sports, and this is one of the reasons I also love sports, is that there's a bus after school. So unlike other sports where you drive your kids around all the time, they just wait after school, go to practice. After practice, there's a bus that brings them home. Now the bus route on it's called an activity bus, so it's slightly different bus. Occasionally, if it's a away game, so for example, when my daughter was in softball, she sometimes had games at PCMS or Maywood, and for some of those games when they're far away and the game ends in the evening, then I would have to drive to that school and bring them back because they might not have transportation for certain away games. But the coach will let you know exactly which games that you will have to do that for. The start date for most sports, I believe, is like September 5th or something. For a second, third, fourth. September 4th, I believe, is the start date for most sports, which is a Monday after Labor Day. Oh, Labor Day is, I think, 4th. So it's probably the September 5th date. So that's the second week of school is when the sports in middle schools will begin. Parents are welcome to attend matches and games. So that's great. And then you can take your child home after that. And so the schedule for games or matches are all on that district calendar that I showed you. And then activity bus. We talked about the fact that if a student does do a sport or a club, there are activity buses available only if they normally took a bus. If they don't have a regular bus route, then there's no activity bus for them. The activity bus route is not the same as a regular school bus route. So activity bus routes, there are much fewer buses available, and it takes much longer when you take the activity bus. And so just keep in mind that it's there. Um, Activity buses can be found here. So here's the schedule for the extended day activity routes. So if your child, let's say, is at Pacific Cascade Middle School, there are only 2 after school activity buses, and here is your schedule of stops. So the stop definitely is not the normal stop. My daughter had to walk probably 10, 12 minutes extra when she took the activity bus. But she was fine, and sometimes I would just drive down the street, pick her up, and bring her home. But it's really most often it's doable. So you and your child will decide if they're going to do an activity and if you're going to pick them up or not, or they'll just take the activity bus. But all of this information is available on the website. And again, we talked about look for the sign on the bus, not this painted sign on the bus, like a paper sign on the bus. And there are no sports on Friday. So that's a good thing. Fridays, no sports, sports only Monday through Thursday. Clubs. Now, clubs usually meet once a week. Sometimes they only meet once every other week. But schools are amazing in how many clubs they have. We also recommend all kids join at least one club if your child does not see that there's a club that they like. So in sixth grade, my daughter really wanted a reading club, but they didn't have a reading club. So she and her friends created a reading club. They found four other kids who are interested. They talked to the ASB person at the school, and then they started it. So it's really good for them to advocate for themselves, create it. You can help mentor and teach them how to kind of to do that. So here, like they have a D&D club, they have a chess club, they have a board game club, art club. So there are different clubs at the school. So different schools have different clubs. So this is just specific Cascades clubs right now. Chances are through the course of the year, it's going to change as the students advocate for different clubs. Okay, so this data, this information is most likely going to increase as the kids are showing interest in other clubs. For example, when my daughter was there several years ago, there was no D&D club. So that's a newer thing. So they can always create clubs as kids are interested and drop clubs as kids are not interested in that club. But the reason that we have clubs is to help students find a niche and they have a sense of belonging. So they meet friends. So this is a really great way for them to engage with their peers, to interact with other kids, to have those develop skills of playing and kind of doing stuff in community. The information for clubs is also posted on the school's website. So this one, for example, chess club, it's only first and third Tuesday of the month, starting on that day. D&D club is on Wednesday. So a kid could be in chess club and D&D club. And these clubs usually end about an hour after school ends, so around 3:30, 3:40. And so if they have activities after 4 o'clock, you might want to do that. But if you have other school activities after school, then it's going to be a conflict, so your kid cannot participate in that. So, of course, for you parents, it is a negotiation between you and your child as to what activities they can or cannot do based on their social calendar, just like all of us. So keep in mind, and what is it your priorities for your child? What is their priorities? So how can you help your child? Oh, middle school can be overwhelming. So keep that in mind. Chances are you're not going to be at baseline as a new parent with my child in middle school, my first time. Even though I was a middle school teacher of 14 years, I can tell you it was painful. There are a lot of disconnects between me and my child. She was frustrated. I was frustrated. They're at this age where you try to give them advice and sometimes they're just not listening. So it can be hard. Sometimes going into sixth grade, some children don't know how to study. Some kids are not as organized. So talk to them about what can you do and remember you're always their coach. So how do you mentor? How do you support them? How can you come in sideways rather than being overbearing and kind of coach them through all of this, giving them strategies on how to do this, how to keep yourself organized, how to organize your locker. Talk to them. Friendship is a big deal right now, so talk to them about various interests, what they want to do if they are looking at making friends within school. You know, show them the school website and what opportunities are available. When they go in on Monday, the web activity they do for those kids who still have an opportunity to do the web activity, the school is going to talk about those things. So that's sometimes parents say something, but if the school says something or a friend says something, it stinks. So sometimes listening to it twice, sometimes three times makes a difference. Review the bell schedule, print the bell schedule to help them. School, do not have the kids buy lunch if you can. Free and reduced lunch, your financial situation is a problem and They have to buy lunch, but if possible, try to pack your child a lunch that first couple of days of school, just because lunch lines are quite overwhelming and hunger is a real thing. Angry is a real thing. So make sure you kind of have food ready when they come home. Put some food down and back away from them because they just need to decompress for a while. Checking with your child how things are going on. I would never ask yes or no questions because all they'll say is yes or no. Ask questions sideways so that you can get more details. But it's talking to the child is hard. But when I say this and when I meet with parents through the course of the year, the thing they always say is they don't tell me anything. All they say is yes, no, if they even say that. So it's middle school. It's a challenge, but you can make it. I know. It was hard, but it passes. Eighth grade comes soon enough, and life is so much better. Okay. So I'm with you right now. I have a child in sixth grade. So those of you with the child in sixth grade, I feel you. School counselor. A school counselor is the main point of contact for general support. It's not their homeroom teacher.
Useless fellows.
And so email your school counselor if a change needs to occur in your child's class schedule. So when your child gets their schedule that first day of school, or if you can access it on Monday, I'm not sure they will be able to, but I feel like they might. Email the school counselor. There's a issue, the academic who they're counseling about course selection. If you have questions about advanced course pathways, scheduling, all of those, that's a great conversation to have with a counselor. And if you're just trying to figure out the school system, like what does it mean to take advanced this or map this, you can also talk to one of the liaisons. The liaisons are also here to help you with this. Would you mind? I'm going to ask you to. So. Okay. And then we have the point school council is also the point of financial assistance for basic needs. And also the school counselor is if your child is having social emotional, middle school is really hard. Anxiety and depression is a real thing that we are seeing not just in Issaquah Middle School, but honestly, we're seeing it nationwide. So if your child is feeling anxious, having depression issues, middle school is hard. There's hormones are there. Sometimes social interaction between peers is not the best because sometimes in middle school kids can be a little bit hard on each other and themselves. So, talk to the school counselor if you think that you need assistance. Schools also have something called a Swedish health mental health counselor that can be accessed if needed. But these are conversations to be had with the school counselor. The biggest thing to note is it's not a stigma to talk to a school counselor. It is really a support person, and unlike elementary school, for those of you familiar with the US elementary schools, usually the classroom teacher is your main contact person. In middle school, because you have six teachers, sometimes seven, the main contact person would be the school counselor. That school counselor you have will be the same counselor for your child throughout middle school. So that's an important thing since it's one of the more consistent people your child will have through their school year. Communication with I'm not sure if you can help that parent mute themselves. Okay, next one, communication. So parents need to check Canvas periodically, weeks, or I would definitely check my child's Canvas if your child is new, especially in sixth grade, every 2 or 3 days, just to make sure they're not following behind. Because sometimes they start forgetting to turn in assignments and then it's really hard to catch up if they're really far behind. And once you know they have a flow that they're turning things in, then you can back away to weekly or every other week. But in the beginning, I would be sure to be monitoring. You don't have to say anything to them because you have your own account. So just keeping an eye on these things. It's the main way teachers communicate with students. There is no parent teacher meetings in middle school and high school. Parents can email a teacher or school counselor and ask for a meeting, but it always is, and that's just there. That's not a but. However, I would say, and I'd also add, that you should definitely start with a conversation with your child. Like, hey, what's going on? I see you're missing some assignments. What can we do? Oh, you're doing this and you don't understand. Okay, let's try this. So you are going to coach your child first. If that doesn't work, then you're now inviting the teacher in that conversation and say, so I talked to my kid. This is what we tried. This is not working. What can you recommend? Invite the teacher in to partner with you to get some of this going. Students are not going to come home with a lot of papers like report cards. No report cards are sent. It's all on parents to go onto Canvas or Family Access to look at that. No paper flyers or printed letters unless it's the syllabus. Some teachers send syllabus in some schools. So it's up to you, honestly, to look for
Why is
this
the copy
information.
paste not working in this stupid thing?
Excuse me. You're not able to mute them, Ina? Okay,
Yes,
there.
I did.
Thank you. Thank you. So just that is part of the common conversation with families. Curriculum. So we talked about there's a curriculum night coming up, and that curriculum night is a great way for you to better understand the classroom teacher's expectation. So one of the things in middle schools and high schools we have is we're trying to make sure that we don't give students zeros because zeros highly impact student grades. So sometimes you might see that your child has a 50%, but actually what that means is they didn't turn the assignment. Okay, so that's one of the things you'd find out at curriculum night. Does the teacher give a zero or are they giving 50%? I was helping a parent and she was like, oh, she's doing the assignment, but they're just not doing very well. And I'm like, well, is that really doing the assignment or is that just 50% because she's not giving a zero and just giving 50? Because you cannot really recover when you do averages. It's really hard to improve your grade if you have so many zeros. But if you have a 50, you can improve your grade. Um, Schools use all teachers in middle school use the same curriculum, and we adopt the Common Core and the next generation science curriculum. So the district has curriculum in English, math, science, social studies that is consistent with all six schools. And we definitely have shifted from factual knowledge to more application and higher level thinking. So the kids are not encouraged, or we don't do as much memorization of facts. It's more like here's information, now apply this, and how would this work? Okay, so we do more application and less facts. So kids are never going to be really expected to know too much factual information. Some facts might come into play, but really it's also now what does this mean, especially as the kids move into higher grades. The IST website has a lot of information on curriculum, so you can go and visit the website to get that information. Let's see. So if you go to the IST website, under middle school curriculum and pathways, those of you who signed up, the fact that your child is already in the school and has chosen classes means that you most likely have seen the science standards by grade level. If your child is in sixth grade, seventh grade, and eighth grade, all of their standards by grade level are posted over here, so you know what the expectations are. Notice I'm biased as a science teacher. I immediately move to life science. So this is what your child, if they're taking life science, will be learning their curriculum through the course of the school year. Okay. If they're in social studies, this is what their curriculum is going to look like. And all teachers will be working to teach your child. All teachers in the district, all six schools will be using the same curriculum. It's based on whatever the teacher wants. It's based on what the district has adopted. It's part of the adopted curriculum. And by the way, any of you parents who are interested in being part of this instructional material committee, they just review curriculum to give us feedback. They don't necessarily choose curriculum, but you're welcome to join the district if you ever decide to be more participate more in this information to help us review materials for the curriculum. Just email me if you're interested in that volunteer role. So going back to curriculum, just note when your child gets a schedule, they most likely have an English class. It might be the regular English class or an advanced English class, but they'll have an English class. There are several levels of math classes they might have. they'll have a science class. So there are 6 periods every day, core periods. So that's English would be one, math would be one, science. If they're sixth graders, they'll either have life science or earth science. If they're seventh grader, they'll either have earth science or physical science. All students take the same level of social studies. It's the same class. There are no options for that. PE, all students will take 2 trimesters of PE and 1 trimester of health through the course of the year. It's just at different times of the year they'll have PE and health. If your child is taking band orchestra course, it's an all year class, or they might have different electives each trimester, and they'll have about a 25, depending on school, I believe it's either 20 or 25-minute announcement period. And by the way, on Wednesday, they don't have that homeroom class. Okay. So Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, they have these 7 periods. Most schools have the homeroom class as the start of the day. School begins with homeroom, and then they have the other 6 classes. And on Wednesday, they just have the 6 classes. Homeroom is a great period where they usually do school announcements. So your child should be listening to announcements. They'll talk about when clubs are meeting, sports start dates, doing different kind of announcements at that time. Also, during this homeroom class is where they will do some social emotional learning, where they do whole school presentations. Maybe it's on kindness or mental health, or discussions on depression, anxiety, um, whatever. But the school has something called a social emotional curriculum, and they will do short presentations during this time. Teacher supports in academics. Encourage your child to participate in class, to get help, to raise their hand, ask for help from the teacher as needed. Okay, ask questions if uncertain. So, in the U.S., it's okay for students to indicate when they're not sure. Teachers are not going to judge you. They're here to help you answer questions. You can model how this looks to your child if they're new to this country's education system, if they're not familiar with that, or if they're shy. You might want to give them tips like, okay, so you don't want to ask when all the kids are looking. How about you do it at this time? Or how about you do it at this time? So give them some ideas on when they can ask for help. Teach your child how to advocate for themselves and practice with them. If they're going to email a teacher, let's say they're missing an assignment or they got a low grade on a test, teach them how to advocate by sending an email to the teacher and say, hey, I got this. What can I do to improve? Or teach your child how to look for ways to improve themselves. Like, you got a low grade on this test or you didn't turn in this assignment. What can you do? What has your teacher said? What is on the course expectations and syllabus? Oh, look, you have 4 days extra to turn it in. Oh, look, your teacher is giving you a makeup time to retake this test. What do you need to retake the test? Let's make sure you get that test taken. How do you need to start, or what has she told you about studying to get you ready for the retake? So kind of be in the background as helping build their independence and advocacy skills so they are able to help themselves. So if that is not working out, then 100% please include the teacher in this conversation. But again, a lot of this information to help you help your child is going to come from this class syllabus, which will be posted on Canvas, and also information given at curriculum night. If you're trying to support your child, but it's not working out because you just need extra help, please email the classroom teacher. Most teachers will say the best way to communicate with them is via email. Same thing with a counselor. And if you'd like to meet with them, just let them know via an email. There are many volunteer opportunities in sixth grade. I see, for example, I volunteered, my daughter was in sixth grade by doing a frog dissection. Very excited about that. And I'll be signing up again this year to do a frog dissection. But there are, in a couple of the schools, they have a walkabout program. But you should definitely, if you have not done it, you may have missed it in the EVP process. But if you plan on volunteering or being on campus, you need to have a volunteer application form completed. And honestly, that's just a background check to make sure that you are safe to be around kids and on campus. So that's part of our safety procedures. Join PTSA. PTSA, also their Facebook page is a great way to keep informed as to what's going on. PTSA is also a great organization to help build community between parents in that community and to help give you a voice at that school. Read the school announcements. Sometimes they'll post it, and at the bottom of the school announcements on Thursday, there'll be a section where the PTSA will be posting the information. So look at that. Join school, the district social media groups. Join our social media group. Ina is in charge of the Cultural and Family Partnership Facebook page. So join those pages to see what's going on and keep informed. Middle school, there's information on PTSA, but in high school, 100% you're going to need to be part of the PTSA because they have lots of dates posted there. And we are now pretty much at the end of our session and just letting you know that in case you have questions, I gave you a lot of information in the past hour and a half, and some of it is way too much and you cannot remember. Note, it's okay. No one's expecting you. I'm not giving you a test after this, but this information will be accessible on the website. The video will be posted on the website, or I will email it to you if you complete the feedback form so that you can have it. But also, honestly, there are liaisons at school who can help you if you call them and ask for help. Just note that we are there. There's school staff, office staff are happy to help. We recognize that some parents just have questions, just like our students. We all learn and understand things differently. It depends on where we're coming from. And if all of this is brand new to us, it's going to take a little bit more to fully understand the system. So thank you very much, and I hope you take a minute to complete the survey. If you have a phone near you, you can scan the QR code and complete the form. And then tomorrow, once I have my video ready, I can send it to you. And I can also send you a copy of this PowerPoint. Okay. And if you don't have a chance, no worries. You can just look on the website next week and get this information. So I'm going to leave this on for a few minutes, but I am going to stop my video recording. So this way